Death Parade is one of the weirdest experiences I've ever had watching a show. It pulls you in with this colorful opening, the characters dancing, having a good time, and then decides to try its hardest to fuck with your emotions through every episode before letting you go with a massive hole in your stomach. But I'm getting ahead of myself. First, we should start out with what it's about. The story of Death Parade is about a bar to which people's souls go when they die. Two at a time, they step out of separate elevators with no memory of anything. Not their past lives, not their names, they don't even know that they're dead. They're asked by the bartender to play a game. Well, not really asked, they're pretty much threatened into playing it. The two participants believe that if they refuse, then they'll get killed, which is ironic, cause you know, you get the point. They roll the roulette and get a random seemingly innocent game, like bowling or darts. The two play the competitive game and assume that if they lose, there's gonna be deadly consequences. At this stage, they believe they have no relationship with each other, so they act all friendly and introductory. Here, comparisons could be made to something like Squid Game, but this is where shit heats up. Throughout the match, the bartender slowly starts feeding the people's memories back to them. All their past traumas, relationships with friends, family, their dreams, plots for revenge, all that. This causes the game to get more competitive. These people need to leave this bar alive and go back to living their lives immediately. They're under the impression that the winner goes home, and that's when the games get more sadistic. Pain gets introduced. Suddenly the dartboard you're aiming at is linked to the other person's body. If you hit the bullseye, you hit their heart. If you hit the spot linked to the stomach, you get double points on the pregnant woman. This starts bringing out the worst in people, putting severe emotional tension on them. It's already entertaining as shit. Things aren't friendly anymore. What makes this worse is that the two people are somehow linked to each other. The person they're playing against could be their significant other, their family member, even the person that killed them. We watch the competitors lose their minds when they get their memories back, turning the anime into a perfected version of one of those reality shows where human garbage argues with each other. As all this goes on, the bartender just stares at them with a blank expression, almost like he's judging them, testing their behavior. They keep getting stimulated with new memories until finally someone wins the game, and that's when it hits them. They're dead, and they look at the bartender confused. See, this was all an experiment, a test to determine how pure a person's soul is. Based on their decisions in the game, it's decided if they're either reincarnated back into the world of the living or thrown into the infinite void, floating in nothingness until the end of time. All those memories were questions, testing how the person would respond in fear for their life, and the moments of degeneracy where someone would break were incorrect answers. They leave just as they arrive, through the elevators not knowing their fate, and that's when the cycle repeats itself with new participants. The characters in Death Parade can be split into two groups, the human souls who go through the experiment, and the godlike figures who watch over them and pass judgment. Let's start with the more interesting one first. The bar has multiple hosts or arbiters that act as judges for the souls. Before each pair comes out of the elevators, the arbiters are sent a compilation of both of their memories. Think of it like a top 10 moments list for the poor motherfuckers. That time you accidentally kicked your dog and felt really bad about it might get left out, but they're sure as hell gonna see the time when you almost bullied someone into suicide over an Among Us match. Wow, that's oddly specific. What the fuck? Anyway, each arbiter has their own way of handling things. Some stay back and let the competitors figure things out themselves, while others like messing with the emotionally distressed guests. They believe that the best way to test the purity of a person's soul is to subject them to fucking psychological torture, which while definitely messed up, makes for great entertainment. They act without mercy, emotionlessly watching humans suffering and condemning them to eternal darkness without hesitation. But they have a clear lack of knowledge when it comes to human psychology. They oftentimes force the darkness out of the players instead of actually testing them. The arbiters also ignore the nuance behind the human's actions. Things like lying about doing something fucked up to make the other person feel like a victim instead of a piece of shit doesn't make sense to the arbiters, because at the end of the day, they aren't human. Speaking of which, the two humans that walk out that elevator make or break the episode. There are genuinely incredible edge-of-your-seat confrontations that make you think you're watching a masterpiece. And then there's an episode about a guy from a boy band and a fangirl playing Twister and getting caught in sexual positions. The scenarios all vary drastically. You'd think that all the tests would include some form of violence, or at the very least, the two players competing with their entire being for the chance that they get to live if they win. But there are some genuinely nice episodes. Some people choose to use the game as an opportunity for a first date they've never had, and others are even happy that they ended up dying together. These variations make it realistically possible for the show to go on forever, just constantly thinking up random scenarios. However, that'd probably get old pretty fast. Hell, tell, towards the end, I was getting a little bored of the episodes. They started feeling a little too long. And that's where the show had me right where it wanted me. It gets you used to the same formulaic structure. New people are introduced, they have a different argument, a different outcome, they leave, and then it repeats. And right when you get comfortable and start noticing the repetition, it fucking rips it away from you and hits you with one of the best endings I think I've ever seen from an anime. The ending is a bittersweet, foreshadowed piece of fucking depression. Let's break down why I liked it so much. From the very first couple episodes, you could realistically picture something like it happening. It's foreshadowed pretty well, however, it's still a massive what the fuck moment when it actually does happen. It also follows the rules that the world's established up to that point, and it does something pretty brave for a 12-episode anime, which I can't go into without spoiling. And it also sets the show up in a way where it could have a reboot or a second season, but it's also perfectly fine just staying finished forever. And finally, the best part is that it's memorable. It'll leave you laying in your bed at 4 a.m. listening to The Weeknd and questioning the meaning of life. Sorry, that was a little personal. Usually when I watch an anime, I kinda just sit there, stone-faced the entire time, doing my best impression of a drunk college kid who just got pulled over by the cops. But this shit, it kinda got to me, not gonna lie. 8 out of 10. If you put a gun to my head and asked me to name 3 characters, I'd be the next motherfucker coming out that elevator.